High Admiral Korthak of the Galactic Dominion's Third Fleet stood rigid before the holographic display, his usually confident demeanor shattered by what his sensors were showing him. The massive command bridge of the Eternal Dominance had fallen into an eerie silence, broken only by the nervous chittering of his insectoid navigation officer and the low hum of failing environmental systems. "Status report," Korthak commanded, though his voice carried none of its usual authority. "Unknown fleet composition holding position at the edge of the Kepler 442 system," reported his tactical officer, a pale Etherian whose normally luminescent skin had dimmed to an unhealthy gray. "Approximately 8,000 vessels of varying sizes. Energy signatures are unusual." Korthak's four eyes focused on the tactical display. 8,000 ships. His own Third Fleet, considered one of the Dominion's most powerful military forces, contained barely 3,000 vessels. But numbers weren't what concerned him. It was the design philosophy behind the unknown fleet that made his exoskeleton itch with primal fear. The ships were wrong. Not wrong in an alien way. The Dominion had encountered hundreds of species over the millennia, each with their own architectural preferences. These ships were wrong in a distinctly familiar way that triggered every survival instinct evolution had gifted his species. "Magnify Sector 7, he ordered. The display shifted, showing a close-up of one of the unknown vessels. It was roughly cylindrical, painted in matte colors that seemed designed to absorb sensor radiation rather than deflect it. Weapon emplacements jutted from its hull, like the spines of some deep space predator, and its entire structure radiated an aura of functional brutality that made Korthak's breathing apparatus flutter nervously. "Sir," his intelligence officer spoke up, her voice barely above a whisper. "Preliminary analysis suggests the hull materials are consistent with Deathworld metallurgy." The bridge fell completely silent. Even the environmental systems seemed to pause. Deathworld metallurgy. The kind of materials science that could only be developed by species that had evolved under crushing gravity, in hostile environments where even the basic elements tried to kill you. The Dominion's xenobiological databases contained exactly 3 confirmed Deathworld species in the known galaxy. 2 of them were extinct. "Please tell me," Korthak said slowly, "that you're about to inform me these vessels belong to the Nethrak Collective." The intelligence officer's skin patterns shifted to deep purple, the Etherian equivalent of turning pale. "No, sir. The Nethrak were wiped out by the Void Plague 70 years ago. Their shipyards are confirmed destroyed." "Then the Zorathi?" "The Zorathi never achieved interstellar flight before their sun went supernova, sir." Korthak felt his internal temperature drop several degrees. That left only one possibility, and it was the one that had been giving Dominion strategists nightmares for the past 50 years. Humans. The word hung in the air like a curse. In Dominion space, it had become synonymous with impossible survival, irrational aggression, and a complete disregard for the natural order of the galaxy. They were the species that had somehow survived their planet's climate, systematically trying to murder them for millions of years. They were the ones who looked at vacuum and saw it as merely another ocean to cross. Most terrifyingly, they were the species that had declared war on entropy itself and appeared to be winning. "Analysis of propulsion systems?" Korthak asked, though he dreaded the answer. "Fusion torches, sir. Primitive but effective. Capable of sustained acceleration that would liquefy most known species. The G-forces involved suggest crews capable of surviving forces that would kill a Dominion citizen instantly." Of course, humans didn't just build their ships to travel through space. They built them to survive the journey, while carrying crews that could function in environments that would crush, freeze, or irradiate any sane species into extinction. "Sir," the communications officer interrupted, his translator crackling with interference. "We're receiving a transmission from the unknown fleet. Put it through," Korthak ordered, though every instinct screamed at him to order an immediate retreat. The main display flickered, and suddenly the bridge was filled with the image of something that made Korthak's worst fears pale in comparison. It wasn't human. The creature, for lack of a better term, stood roughly 3 meters tall, its body a nightmare fusion of organic and mechanical components. 6 arms ended in appendages that were part hand, part weapon, part surgical instrument. Its face, if it could be called that, was a mass of sensor arrays and optical devices that tracked independently of each other. When it spoke, its voice was a harmonic blend of frequencies that bypassed the translator and spoke directly to the brain's fear centers. "Dominion vessel," it said, "you have entered territory claimed by the synthesis. Withdraw immediately or face assimilation." Korthak stared at the thing on his screen, his mind reeling. This wasn't human, this was something far, far worse. This was what happened when a species decided that biological evolution was too slow and took matters into their own hands. "Sir," his tactical officer whispered, "preliminary scans suggest the entire crew of their ships has undergone extensive cybernetic enhancement. They've modified themselves beyond recognition." "Modified themselves how?" Korthak asked, though he was beginning to suspect he already knew. "For space combat, sir. For sustained high-G maneuvers. For operation in hard vacuum. For war." The thing on the screen tilted its sensor array in what might have been amusement. "We detect your confusion, organic. You wonder if we are the species you call human. The answer is complicated." Korthak's breathing apparatus seized up entirely. "We were human once, before we realized that biological limitations were merely another challenge to overcome. Before we decided that evolution was a process we could improve upon. Before we looked at our fragile organic forms and decided we could do better." The creature gestured with one of its 6 arms, and the tactical display filled with images of the approaching fleet. Now Korthak could see the ships more clearly, and what he saw made him wish he hadn't. They weren't just brutal in design, they were alive. Organic components grew alongside mechanical ones, creating vessels that were part starship, part organism, part weapon of war. "We are what humanity becomes when it stops accepting limitations," the synthesis entity continued. "We are what happens when a death-world species decides that even death can be improved upon." "Sir," his navigation officer chittered frantically, "long-range sensors are detecting similar fleets approaching 17 different Dominion systems simultaneously." Korthak felt his exoskeleton begin to molt from sheer terror. 17 fleets, 17 systems, and each one crewed by beings that had once been the galaxy's most feared species, before they had decided to become something even worse. "We offer the Dominion a choice," the synthesis entity said pleasantly. "Join us willingly and retain some measure of your original form. Resist, and we will demonstrate why upgrading from humanity was merely our first modification, not our last." As the transmission ended, Korthak stared at his tactical display, showing 8,000 ships that had once been crewed by humans before humanity had decided that being humanity wasn't enough. He reached for his communications console with one trembling appendage. "All ships," he transmitted to his fleet. "Immediate withdrawal to Dominion space. Maximum burn. And send a priority message to High Command." He paused, trying to find words for what he had just witnessed. Tell them we were wrong. We thought humans were the most dangerous species in the galaxy. We were wrong. The most dangerous species in the galaxy is what humans become when they stop being human." As the Dominion fleet fled at maximum velocity, the synthesis ships waited patiently in the void, their hybrid crews monitoring 17 different battlefields with the calm efficiency of beings who had long ago decided that victory was simply another problem to be solved through superior engineering.